Welcome to a special interview segment of Joe and the Fat Man. Penn State fans, Joe Smeltzer, Kyle Fatman, Golik, and Nittany Sports Now with you as always, joined as always by Jay Holahan of Mike Farrell Sports. And we have a special guest with us today, a former Penn State offensive lineman who has become a pretty fast rising college football media star. He is Landon Tengwall. Landon, first off, thanks for joining us. How's the first game week going of what looks to be a pretty interesting Penn State season, to say the least?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. No, that's I looking around. I don't think the hype has been this big since 1999. So this century, I mean, it's been a long time since we feel like we have the best shot, and I think even more so because you look around college football, and there's not really that elite quarterback on that elite juggernaut team. It's just, hey, honestly, I had Nick Dawkins on my show, and he's like, I look around and it's like, hey, maybe we're being hunted. Like maybe we're the juggernauts. We're the top dog. I know we haven't proven that yet, and we haven't won the big game that we need to. But just from a standpoint of just 2025, looking at it, it seems like we're the top dog. So it's fun. I think the Penn State fan base is really energized. They're ready to go. Starting off with three easy wins here, most likely, is it's nice to a degree. I think I've made the comment that I think it helps. I think with our roster, a group of guys that has done this, been in big games, been together for 2 to 3 years, and then you got a ton of young guys, really, that the depth pieces, all young, they're all freshmen or second year guys. They need to play. So if we get 3 games where they're getting close to 6 quarters from those 3 games, that's valuable. That is being on the field. I almost passed out on my first play. That's how nervous I was. So if we can get guys in there against Nevada when we're up by 45 points, ease them in a little bit. So if they have to play at Iowa when an injury or something happens, I mean, knock on wood, it's not as bad. So that's kind of how I view it.
So I'll start by asking you about the offensive line. Obviously, when you came in, class of 2021, Penn State hadn't really had a formidable offensive line in a long time. Obviously, the sanctions were a big reason for that. Bill O'Brien and James Franklin early pretty much had to choose between skilled players and linemen, so Penn State was behind the 8 ball. But it's definitely different now. I believe there's 7 players on the line that were 5-stars at one point in their high school careers, and James Franklin said there's 7 guys that they feel as starters. The question I don't think is, does Penn State have a good line? Obviously, it does. Do you feel like this is the best offensive line in college football? And if not, what does it have to do to get there?
Yeah, I think if we aren't, we're top 2 or top 3. I mean, you can make the argument we're going to see where we are at here in a couple weeks, especially when we face a fairly good Oregon front. Ohio State is not what they've been in the past. But I mean, looking around at the guys, Coach Trout, build unbelievable depth, deserves a ton of credit for what he has done there. And I mean, look, across the board, not only, like you said, do we have this talent, but we have depth. We feel like we got 7 guys that can play, and Coach Trout and Coach Franklin say, hey, I think that's going to continue to grow as the season goes on. And we feel like maybe we'll get 8, 9 guys that can play. We got Coach Franklin referencing 6 to 7 man offensive line sets. That's huge. That's exciting. As an offensive lineman, that gets me real giddy. So, Nick and Katron, both just a little over 1,000 yards away from being 1 and 2 on the all-time Penn State rushing list. I think it's going to be easy for them to get there behind this offensive line. They're going to open up some huge holes. I expect us to run a lot of outside zone. We were getting outside in the run game all playoffs long, and it was really successful. I think we kind of try to go back to that formula. Nick Singleton mentioned today that Katron Allen's lost a little bit at baby weight. I believe Katron at his heaviest was like 222, down to listed at 217, might even be a little bit lower. Fast Katron Allen, that's something I like. So, I mean, I think the offensive line's in a great place. Once again, a credit to Coach Trout for where we were and where we are now. It's amazing to see, and I think we're going to be able to lean on this offensive line in those big games.
Just to follow up on Joe's question, Landon, do you think that this is a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line?
Yeah, I was working with Aaron Taylor, who was the creator and founder of Joe Moore. We were at practice together, and we watched the offensive line the whole time. He said he feels like we're going to be top 3. They do a top 3 finalist once you get to about a little over halfway through the season, and he was very fond of it. He seems like it's very likely. I was actually just talking to him right before I got on here, and he's pumped about it. He works for CBS, and he told me that they have us game 1. He's going to be keeping a close eye on us. I think everything we have from depth And we saw Ohio State and Notre Dame played in the national championship. Both had less than at least two offensive linemen were banged up and out at different positions. So we know we're going to need that depth. You play 16, 17 games, but we got the horses to be able to get it done. I absolutely think, if not now, when for this offensive line, we're going to graduate pretty much all of them. And I'll tell you, Coach Trout keeps the Joe Moore Award trophy picture of it up in the offensive line room. And every single time that we walk out of there, we tap it on the way out to remember kind of what that goal is.
As you kind of talk about Trout line and, this offensive line throughout the years, they've really grown into now what is one of the best units in the country. Can you give the fans kind of an in-depth look at kind of what that is in that, like what that kind of room is and how he coaches?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Trout's super detailed. I'll tell you that. He is number one thing is you have to learn all the positions. Doesn't matter if you're an absolute center and you never have a chance in hell at starting at right tackle. On the test that he gives you every week and in the summer, you have to write down every single position for every single play, know their exact footwork, know their exact responsibility. And what that leads to is just a cohesive unit, because I know what the guy next to me is doing without a doubt, because he makes sure you know it. And then just little things like in the summer, every single Monday blocks off a time period where all the guys go golfing, has us over once a week for barbecue, a bunch of the offensive line. And shout out Nick Dawkins for this. All the guys go to Coach Earls, who was the strength coach for the offensive line. His kids have a flag football game. We all go out to that and support and cheer on the kids. Like, it is such a family atmosphere. And I'll tell you, it was not that when I first got here. It was not that at all. So, I mean, shout out to the OGs, Juice Scruggs, Olu Fashanu, Nick Dawkins. A lot of guys made the room what it is today. And it makes me really happy to see, but it's a culture, that is for sure. And I really do hope Coach Troutwines can stay around for the long haul. But I did see he said that he's not going anywhere else in college football. I don't know when. I think eventually. He said it. He's going to go be an NFL offensive line coach. That is the next step, and it's a lot more lucrative. Hopefully, that's not for a long time. We love him here, but I think he deserves it. The turnaround that he put on this offensive line unit. And the guys we're bringing in. I mean, people haven't even talked about Malachi Goodman, who's a true freshman, but a monster. I mean, I've heard really great things about him. People are excited. So I couldn't say any better things about this offensive line. I mean, it's amazing to see the transformation, but it's because of the way Coach Troutwine carries himself and guys like Nick Dawkins, Drew Shelton, Vangioane, just continuing to carry that on.
So talking about the defensive front, with Zane Durant and Denai Dennis Sutton, there's certainly star power both in the interior and on the edge. But as far as depth goes, there's a lot of questions there because obviously Alonzo Ford has had kind of a star-crossed college career. Zariah Fisher, same way at defensive end. And the guys behind them, there isn't a ton of proven depth like there was last season, for example, when Keziah Izzard was able to step in after Ford got hurt and Hakeem Beamon left the program. So how would you assess just the depth on the defensive line? Because I think especially on the interior, a lot of Penn State fans see that as a potential Achilles heel if this team has an Achilles heel.
Yeah, I think that is, defensive end, looking there first. Let's talk there first. I think there was a huge worry. I think now you look around and the emergence of Chaz Coleman, Chazmanian Devil, as Jim Knowles has dubbed him, there's a lot of excitement there. I have guys on the offensive line telling me they think he's Abdul Carter, Chop Robinson, reincarnated. Young dude, has a lot to prove, but I'm hearing future top 10 pick. I'm being serious about that. Guys are already having to say, how do I stop him as a true freshman that has not played a real down yet and just got here in May? So I feel better about that. I think Jalen Harvey, Yavin Kamaju, those guys, I think we're in a fairly good place at defensive end. Although it is young and it's unproven, I think just the word we've gotten from camp, and I'll tell you, I went to a whole practice when I was there with the Joe Moore Award guys, and it looked great. I think Zariah Fisher is slowly coming back. Franklin mentioned he's still working through an injury. I don't know what that means. Maybe we don't see Fisher come Saturday, but so we could be seeing the start of the Chaz Coleman era. I mean, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that and kind of see. But I feel a little bit better at defensive end than I do. I feel a lot better now than I did, let's say, 2 or 3 months ago. Now, especially after the Granville injury. Now, defensive tackle, a lot more questions there. It seems like Alonzo Ford's taken a while to get back from his injury. That's something to monitor, and it's normal. I mean, he had a major knee injury late in the season. That's going to happen. So that's something to look out for. Xavier Gilliam seems like he's coming on strong. That's something that definitely excites me. But outside of that, I mean, you need to have you need to at least have 5 defensive tackles you feel good about. I'd say we really only feel good about 2.5. And if Alonzo Ford is still coming off an injury, I don't feel that good about that. 100% defensive tackle is where I am most concerned. I think Penn State fans should be watching that come Nevada. That's going to be something big to just monitor and watch that play of those defensive tackles and what that looks like. Thankfully, it is anchored by my opinion, best defensive tackle in all of college football. I went against him every day, ended my career. So I know what that is like. Zane Duran is one special dude, so hopefully he can kind of make up for any slack that's left behind.
Shifting gears here, Landon, the college recruiting game itself is a game. You know that, you've been in it. You've heard from everybody in the country when you were a 4 or 5 star recruit yourself. Talk to our audience about what that's like and what guys like Zion Ely, who might be the top prospect in college football in this class, is going through being committed to Maryland with Penn State in hot pursuit. And conversely, Keemon Spell, who's the top running back at a McKeesport here in the class of 2027, who Penn State has a commitment from, but now they're trying to play a little bit of defense to keep them. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'll tell you what, it is much different than it was in my day where, it was, I'll tell you, my dad, I wanted to commit like freshman year of high school. I got offered very early and he was like, you're not going to commit. You're going to go around. You're going to see these places, experience things, meet people. And so I was very thankful that he did that. And Franklin told me back then, he was like, look, if you commit, you're not taking any other visits. And that was well known. If you commit to Penn State, you are not to take any other visits. That has changed a little bit in the NIL era. And also, when you are dealing with a top 10 player in the nation, just let's talk Keemon Spell first, the rules get bent a little bit. So he's already got all these visits lined up. They're not going to tell Keemon Spell, you have to decommit, obviously, because he wants to go take visits. It seems like he's got one foot out the door. I saw him do an interview and he said something along the lines of, yeah, I'm committed to Penn State right now, or like for now. It was like something along those lines. Didn't sound very intriguing. And then Rivals comes out with that new news that, these are the top 6 schools that could flip me. It doesn't get much worse than that. I mean, that's real bad news. So I don't know exactly where we are at as far as his commitment. It's not looking necessarily great. And I think, NIL really plays a factor into this now. He's someone like Keemon Spell. Speed is expensive, and you're a top 10 player. I would venture to say, especially as NIL continues to work its way up and guys are getting paid more, Keemon Spell's a top 10 player and one of the fastest guys in the nation, probably over $2 million a year. That's not confirmed, but like that's where I'd ballpark it. Is James Franklin willing to give that to a true freshman? I mean, from my understanding right now, I think there's only one dude on this roster that's making over $2 million, and that's Drew Aller. So are we willing to give that to a true freshman that's technically unproven? That's not very James Franklin-like. So that's interesting to monitor. But I mean, from a standpoint of just being the highly recruited guy, look, it feels good. You're excited. If you're wondering why Keemon Spell is doing it, it's very understandable, and especially when money's involved and we're talking millions of dollars here, life-changing money. I don't blame him. I'm mad that he committed before his sophomore season even started. Like, if you think there's any chance you're going to decommit, don't commit. That's my biggest thing. Someone like Zion Ely, I already gave my advice to him on Twitter. Kind of went viral when I said that. I said, look, don't stay in Maryland. I am from Maryland. I said, it never works out for anybody, brother. That went viral. I rekindled my hate with all the Maryland fans. I had Locks Mafia on Twitter coming after me. It was great. But I mean, look, like I said, it's these kids, from my standpoint, like they want to feel love. They love the fans in their comment section. They love the fact, I mean, I can't even relate, but the money coming and you're getting this offer. And now I want to go see, can I get it doubled over here? And it's just, there's so much outside noise. I don't know how that's all going to turn out. I don't, definitely cool that they get to make this money, but there is so much more. It's so much more than just being a 5-star now. And there's millions of dollars involved. And now you got parents too. And a lot of parents don't really have the best interest for their kids at heart. So that's a problem as well. You got quarterback coaches, or just, your trainer becoming your agent. Like it's dangerous in the water as we are treading in at the moment.
But how did you tune out the noise? Because obviously, Landon, you were a highly coveted prospect. Was Penn State always number one? And there was, like, with the commitment rule you outlined from Franklin, how did you block out the noise? Because there was obviously interest in you when you were in your recruitment process. How did you tune that out?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, number one thing that I did was as I cut my list down, I just didn't respond to people. So I did get a new phone when at junior year, August 1st of my junior year, I got a brand new phone, or September 1st, whenever they're allowed to contact you. I got rid of my old number that a bunch of coaches had. And then it was like halfway through my junior year, I put out a top three: Notre Dame, Maryland, and Penn State. And if it was a coach that wasn't from those schools, I didn't respond to them. Like I said, just giving you a little more from right now, it's a little bit harder when I already cut off USC, but they're saying, yo, I'll double their offer. I'll give you $3 million a year. Changes it a little bit, but for me, it was fairly easy. And I'll tell you, I knew I was going to Penn State from day one. Like I said, I appreciate my dad for saying, hey, take that time, have those experiences, go around. I got to do a Southern swing. I got to meet Nick Saban. I got to meet Kirby Smart. I got to go to Auburn, Georgia, Clemson, got to go down the slide with Dabo. I mean, those were all great experiences. And that's why I tell every single young recruit that I talk to, take your time, take your visits. If you're a 4 or 5 star, your slot's not getting taken. So wait. But yeah, I mean, for me, I love the social media. I was kind of crowned as the Twitter king when I got there. I have since reclaimed my title, I guess, coming back onto the media space and just getting in spats all the time with opposing fan bases. But it's one of those things. You kind of just loyalty, I guess, is a piece of it. And I felt very loyal to Penn State because they were one of the first people to offer me, and I had felt very strongly about James Franklin, Tyler Bowen. Not Matt Limegrover, but that was kind of, that was just, that was a side. I was willing to ignore that. When Trout got brought on board, it was even easier. And I remember Trout called me. I still wasn't committed. And he's like, dude, I'm going to get you. This is going to be great. I'm going to make sure you want to commit here. I was like, Trout, like, I'm already like silent committed, basically. My dad won't let me, but I'm going to commit in like a couple months. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. So I was all Penn State, man. So it's a little bit hard from my standpoint of view. But like I said, it's just the element of the money is just so crazy. Because like I said, I was able to just cut off Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. But if they're calling back and they're hitting my DMs and saying, yeah, we're going to go $4 million, well, that gets a lot crazier, especially if you don't come from a lot of money.
Last follow-up before I kick it to Jay here. Is there a funny communication that you had gotten from any of these coaches to try to get back into your good graces that made you just chuckle at their attempts to get you? I don't expect you to tell us on the air, but if you can at least give us, like, not who, but maybe what was in it, because I got to imagine, and just dealing with the coaches that I've dealt with, they all got personality. So I got to imagine you got some pretty funny stuff over the years.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I don't even know where he's coaching now. So Notre Dame and Penn State were my real final two. And Jeff Quinn was the offensive line coach for Notre Dame. And he had Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey. I mean, had some really good guys. And so I remember I called him and I was like, Coach, really appreciate everything, but I'm going to Penn State. And he was pleading on the phone. He was like, no, rethink this. You need to come back, visit. But I think it was like COVID too. Like, Coach, I can't. Sorry, it's not happening. And he was just like begging me. And then same thing. I just kind of cut people off. You got to treat them like bad exes, man. You just got to cut it off and just be like, no, it's done. I finally got him off the phone and then just kind of didn't block him or anything, but I was just didn't really answer. And that was kind of it. So that was the main one. Outside of that, I mean, most people knew I was so committed to Penn State that it was kind of like a moot point. But Notre Dame really did think they had a great chance with me. So I think that one hurt. But I don't know. Maybe we're talking a little bit different if Marcus Freeman was there. But it was not hard to turn down Brian Kelly, if you want me to be honest.
Okay.
That surprised me.
Yeah. Landon, but taking away from football now and what you're doing now with media, what kind of got you into this career? Because the three of us are obviously big sports junkies, Kyle, Joe, and myself. Is that what you were like growing up? Is that what really got you into media? Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was watched NFL Network every single day, all day. I did not grow up, especially being in Maryland, just because I don't know if Maryland was bad. I didn't watch college football. I truly did not start watching college football until 2016, 2017, which 2017 was my freshman year of high school. But when I was younger, I could name every single NFL player there was out there. That was just kind of how I operated. I loved it. I'm a diehard Steelers fan. So that's been rough. Yeah, exactly. Joe, we're on it. It's been a rough couple of years, I'll tell you what. But I was lucky. All I knew was Big Ben for so long, and now I'm just in this quarterback carousel, and I got the inmates are running the asylum. I got ayahuasca Aaron Rodgers running my team right now. It's quite sad. So I'm trying to disassociate from Steelers and just worry about Penn State, and hopefully it's a great year
I'll
for
go
us.
10-7 again.
Yeah, hey, whatever it
First
is,
round
I'm
exit.
sure. Yeah, first, we're gonna lose in the wild card round. It'll be great. TJ Watt, no sacks, whatever. Cam Hayward's still sad. It's gonna be great. But no, I was huge. I always dreamed of playing in the NFL. That was something I love the NFL draft. I was so big on that. And my parents would always, tell me, that's what you're destined for, all that stuff. And so it didn't happen. It was really difficult. But I'll tell you what, it was definitely thankful for the people that are around me. My girlfriend, Sarah, she was really, really big. It was Kenny Jackson's daughter of the 1982 national championship team. And she really just kind of helped me heal and then helped me find my path. She said, what do you like to do? And I said, I like my Com 360 class. I'm going through that. I thought I was going to be maybe a millionaire in a couple months if I had a good year in 2023. And there I am saying, what the hell am I going to do with my life? So she says, I got a friend that does some local radio, started doing that in the fall of 23. And it kind of just took off. I mean, if you guys remember, I always like to be in front of the media. I really enjoyed just kind of interacting with you guys. I would always tell Greg and Cade, put me in front of the media. I got you. And from there, it started to become more and more natural and just went off on my own and decided to create my own content. And ever since then, it's just kind of taken off. Have a really good team around me now. Got a studio downtown State College and gearing up here for technically year 2. Last year was kind of rocky because I was taking 18 credits during last season. And I didn't have any help. Now it's full time and I have a ton of help. So it really allows me to kind of dive into this. I'm excited for this season. I think it's going to be one for the ages, and definitely blessed that I get to call, this my job every day. And all glory to God for me. Absolutely. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm just happy I get the opportunity every day to, like I said, do something I enjoy.
So, two-parter here. What's the story? You mentioned Zane Durant ended your career earlier. What's that story, if you wouldn't mind sharing? And also, that 2023 season, how did you navigate watching Penn State football that year? Because that couldn't have been easy after finding out, right before the season started. I think it was this week, the first game week at West Virginia, finding out that you had to medically retire.
Yeah. It was, we were in practice. It was like the second or third day of contact and pads. And at that point I had 5 or 6 concussions. I had 2 in high school. I had 3 at Penn State. None of them were that bad really. And then it was just the concussion. We just went head to head. It was nothing crazy, honestly. I just went one way, came back, and it was just boom, right here. It wasn't like I just got smacked super hard, went down, and it was, it was rough for a while. And yeah, so, I tried to be around the team. It was hard for me to do that, if you want me to be honest. Didn't really kind of want to be to an extent because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And it was just hard to kind of see that going on. Didn't watch the first couple games at all. Then, it just gave me something to look forward to. Every Sunday I did a radio show starting in I think it was Ohio State, maybe it was the first game, or Michigan. So started to kind of watch, but still wasn't super into it. And yeah, I was just kind of away. I really was kind of recluse for that whole fall for the most part. Outside of doing that little radio show, I did not appear on any social media, just kind of went MIA for a long time. So it was actually spring game of 2020. Yeah, spring game of 2024 when Drew Aller, it was kind of windy. Someone made cut-ups of Drew Aller throwing bad balls. And I made a cut-up, kind of clapping back of his good throws. And that was what birthed my rebirth into the media space, I guess.
So going back, what was the situation where you found out that you couldn't play football anymore? And what was your instant reaction to that?
Yeah, so it was actually technically my decision. I was consulting with the medical team, and it was it was one of those things that technically I could be playing right now, but what I kind of went through, and it took me a true well over a month to even feel slightly normal, and mentally I never had the emotional effect of what I was kind of dealing with. And really dark thoughts, and I was always a really happy person. I said, I could never live with myself if I went back out there, suffered a concussion like that, and that was permanent. So it was, in the end, it was truly my decision. I haven't really talked about that too much, honestly, and it was just I was like, I want to be a great father, a great husband, great businessman. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I'd find some way to be successful. And I said, all right, forget it. I'm going to figure out some other way. But thankfully, Coach Franklin paying for the rest of my tuition was obviously really big. That helped a ton and kind of just allowed me to be able to go to school and have a year and a half to figure it out. You know, you look at guys now, I think we just had, you know, hopefully they find their way on more rosters, but I think we just had like 8 or 9 guys cut that went to that played at Penn State, something like that. That's hard because that's instant. Like it's over and it's over. And, you know, so I'm honestly thankful the way it kind of worked out. I had a year and a half of a cushion where I was still getting a stipend. I was still on scholarship. I was in college. I'm like, oh, I get to figure this out. And so I was already doing pretty well at the end of last season. I graduated last December and already had a YouTube channel that was doing well and was trying to, you know, making some money on social media. So I'm just kind of thankful for the way it worked out, but I wouldn't have been able to do it without the support just from my teammates, from Coach Franklin, like I said, just welcoming me back whenever I want. Just being able to be around the guys, and roommate Dom DeLuca was really big, always just hanging out with me. All those guys, Tyler Warren, all the guys, they were fantastic. So, you know, never made me feel like weird or awkward for the fact that I had to step away from the game, and it just made it easy, man. So it was obviously still probably, I'd say, the most difficult thing I've ever kind of went through, but it was made me kind of who I am. And I tell you what, I don't really know. I can't really say one way or the other. It's so different, but I almost love media kind of more than football to agree. It feels better on the body, I'll tell you that. I don't wake up aching every single day.
Absolutely. But we'll kind of begin to wrap up soon. But give me your score prediction this week against Nevada. We all gave ours. What are you going with? Score prediction?
Yeah, I will go 56-7. I think it'll be a full blowout. I think let's get
Hey, that's my prediction.
Oh, there you go. Let's get a good look at Ethan Grunkmeyer, and let's get Jackson Smolik in there too. I think it's Coach Franklin, you know, made it clear that he's named quarterback 2 this week. And look, I think Franklin's going to continue to do that. He's going to leave it open no matter what, even if Grunkmeyer's quarterback 2 the whole season long. He's going to go with the stance of it's still open because he wants to keep Jackson Smolik around, whether it really is close or the competition there isn't. But I mean, I think Jackson Smolik showed a lot. I think I've heard he had a better spring ball than Ethan Grunkmeyer in totality. I think he had a better spring game than him. So excited to kind of watch that. Watch these young defensive linemen is going to be big. Let's see what Anton Belgrave Shorter brings to the table. That's big question mark that clearly balled out in fall camp. Kind of excited to see where he kind of goes with all this. And then, wide receivers. We know it. We love them. Hopefully we love them after the game. I think no matter what, we're getting an overreaction one way or the other. It's either going to go really well and we're going to say we got the greatest wide receivers ever, or it's not going to be that good and we're going to say we still suck at wide receiver. And it's the reality is somewhere in the middle probably. So excited to watch. It's going to be a good one.
Landon, my last one before I kick it to Joe here. And this is my Dan Patrick-esque question. If you watch the DP show, you probably know where I'm going with this. What he typically asks his guests. Man cave questions, because I'm a big man cave master. Tell me about your cave. Have you been in James Franklin's cave? If so, what's in it? And is there a item in your cave that you cherish the most?
That's really good. James Franklin. So we've always been to his house. He doesn't really have a huge man cave. Like the basement is nice, huge, like TV, all that stuff. I mean, look, Miss Fumi kind of takes it over. She handles all the decorations and does all that stuff. But very nice house, I'll tell you what. So you know, he's got a good situation there for sure. For me, in my man cave, which is basically my studio, my number one thing is my terrible towel from Super Bowl 13, I believe it was. That was the year that beat the Vikings, Joe. Yep. I think, yeah. And so it's
Cowboys.
Yeah. And so, that's probably my favorite one. It was gifted me from my grandmother's neighbor. Shout out Miss Louise. And she was awesome. I was like 8 years old. She's like, hey, it's from the game. It's my husband's. And it was awesome. So to have that is really cool. I need to get it signed by like Terry Bradshaw. I need Jack Ham to sign it. I can't believe I haven't taken it to him. So I need to pass that towel around. But one of the older terrible towels I've ever seen. So as a diehard Steelers fan, that's up there for me. And then Penn State gear. Oh man, as far as probably like my Rose Bowl jersey, something like that. I always want to keep that forever. That's pretty neat. And then I really like my All-American Bowl helmet too. That was pretty cool. As much as high school accomplishments are kind of whatever, but to be an All-American was a cool experience. So those are a couple of things that I hold close to me.
So we'll wrap up with this. You're only 23 years old, obviously, have a head start into the sports media world. Where do you see this thing taking you? Like, do you have any specific goals, like color commentary, studio, like of a major network? Like, where do you see this thing going?
Yeah, for me, I'll tell you what. I'd say I want to cover the Big Ten as a whole. That's probably my goal. I think there's a gap there. I think that there's SEC has a ton of coverage. I'm gonna continue to cover Penn State. We'll see how this season goes in the next season. But that's kind of the route I want to go. I think I want to continue to cover more of the Big Ten. I don't think they get enough love. We have won the past two national championships. Hopefully, Penn State makes it 3 in a row, and that's kind of where I'd like to go next with this thing. Is take it all Big Ten. I don't know if that's next year. I don't know if that's in 2 years, 3 years, but that's kind of my plan at some point is slowly migrate into covering all the Big Ten.
Yep, and one more thing to go off that. Any content you post content on a daily basis and lots of it, but is there anything in particular you have in the works in the coming days that we should be on the lookout for?
Oh man, always probably my favorite thing that's going to be coming out always is the opponent film breakdown. So giving everybody a look at what the opponent's going to do. It's going to be, I'm not going to lie to you, it's slightly boring for the next 2 weeks, but once we get to Oregon and Big Ten play, everything you need to know on film of what our opponent does, giving you tips, what to look out for. I think that's something to kind of be excited for and watch out for that. So, but yeah, daily content, sometimes 2-3 videos a day. 2 videos went up today. Had a Grunkmeyer video ready to go, so got that out. But yeah, excited to just cover the team and get to hopefully watch what is a magical season.
All right, Landon Tengwall, thank you for joining us. Much appreciated again, and we'll be sure to have you back. The invitation's always open.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.